Joining us now, Robert Hurt, Congressman, 5th District Republican in Virginia. Congressman, good to have you back, sir.
Good to be with you, John. I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. Hope all of your listeners did as well.
Well, I certainly did. We hope our listeners did. Now, we'll be at the Advance Live on Friday and Saturday. Our normal broadcast time is on Friday, 6 to 10. Saturday will be on 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Special edition of the John Fredericks Show. So the first thing I have to ask you, Congressman, are you going to the 2015 Republican Advance?
I am. I'm looking forward to it, and I certainly hope I'll get a little airtime with you.
Absolutely. If you're there between 10 and 1 on Saturday, what time are you heading in?
We have a presentation, the congressional delegation. I think just about all of the members of the congressional delegation will be there Saturday morning. And so I'm sure that we will see you Saturday morning and look for an opportunity to get with you.
I'll call Abigail and we will make it work, sir, no doubt. Now, I want to get right to two things. Let's start Sunday night. President Barack Obama in the Oval Office, only the third time, sir. He's made an address to the country from the Oval Office on the terror attack that we had in San Bernardino. What did you make of his speech, Congressman?
I was just very disappointed. I was amazed that the president, under these circumstances, would begin this important speech talking about gun control. The idea that gun control had anything to do with what happened in California, I think most people would, have to admit, is ridiculous, and I couldn't believe that he decided to use the power of the presidential office to on this occasion, on this serious occasion, to spout politics. And I think what the American people want to hear from our president is that what happened in California is horrific, and it is. And our hearts go out to the families and all those affected. But they want to hear some resolve that we are going to do everything we can to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that means not political, silliness, but what it means is saying we're going to give our law enforcement resources the resources to our law enforcement officers the resources to be able to combat this. We're going to give our intelligence agencies the resources necessary to make sure that we uncover these plots long before they ever happen. And finally, that we're going to take border security seriously. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is that the Islamic State has made it clear that they will do anything to get into this country to blow us up, and they have used the refugee program, for instance. There are so many other ways for these folks who want to harm us to get into our country, and the American people want to hear from a president that we're going to fix that, and we're going to fix it now. And that's not what he said. And I think that it was deeply disappointing to me. I have heard tremendous feedback from the people I represent who agree.
Congressman, he basically said nothing. He said he's not going to change his strategy. He reiterated that he thought his strategy was working, even though there's no evidence of it. That was number one. And then he seemed to be dispassionate until he got to the political correctness part of his speech when he talked about not singling out Muslims or other people of Islamic faith and saying that we're not at a war with Islam. He got very passionate then. So it seemed like his speech had to do more with his political agenda and with our reaction toward other Muslims and political correctness than actually doing anything to stop the terror.
Yeah, it was more of a political lecture than it was anything of substance. And I think the American people deserve a president that is going to recognize the concern, realize that this is dead. I mean, the 14 people that are dead in California as a consequence of these terrorist acts are dead because of the philosophy and because of the planning and because of the actions of those who are inspired by Islamic State, and who knows, when it's all over and done with, it looks like there's a very good chance that Islamic State and those agents were actively supporting this effort. And to suddenly just shut your eyes to that and offer political a political lecture, I just think was wholly completely inappropriate and not what we need. We need strength, and we need resolve, and that's what we need.
Basically, what we had Sunday night was more dogma as far as I was concerned. Now, Congressman, I want to get to Donald Trump's comments yesterday, and then we'll move on to some other areas. 7:19 on the John Fredericks Show live today. Haley Buick GMC 9831 Midlothian Turnpike in Richmond. Come and check us out. We're with Republican Congressman Robert Hurt, 5th District, Virginia. Congressman, last night in a rally in South Carolina, and prior to that in a statement, Republican front runner right now, businessman Donald Trump, said that all people of Muslim faith should be temporarily restricted from coming into the United States, he said, until we figure this out. What say you?
Well, I don't know that you can just make a broad blanket statement and say all people of Muslim faith can't come in. But I don't know that, and I don't agree with that broad blanket statement. But what I do believe is this: is that number one, we have to recognize that we are dealing with Islamic terrorism. We're not dealing with Christian terrorism. We're not dealing with Jewish terrorism. We're dealing with Islamic terrorism. And so, as we look to combat Islamic terrorism, that we need to keep that in mind. And as we investigate and uncover these sorts of plots, and do everything we can to make sure that people who are perpetrating this Islamic terrorism are not coming to this country, we need to keep that in mind, and we can't be afraid to call it exactly what it is. And I think that as I travel across my district, people are so disgusted with the president because he won't just be honest. He won't just say exactly what it is. And Donald Trump, of course, in many ways, has cornered the market on that. And that, I think, is why he becomes more and more popular every time he opens his mouth, because people believe that he's a straight shooter and that he doesn't color what he says by what he, by political, a bunch of political concerns. And so I think that's the first thing. But the second thing, and this I think also is a part of what he is saying, and that is we have got to tighten down our border and make sure that no one is coming into this country unless we know exactly who they are, know exactly what their background is, and know that they are not going to be coming here to hurt us. Now, I think that I should say that I think that certainly that can be done. It's something that has needed to be done for years now. I mean, going back 10, 20, 30 years, we're now paying the price for failure to secure our borders and act like a sovereign nation. And now we're paying the price for it. And this president needs to buck up, do the right thing, and really tighten down on our border security to make sure that the American people are safe. It is the number one responsibility of the federal government.
It is, but and I know, Congressman, that Barack Obama is not going to do that. In fact, he's attempting to do the opposite. He's attempting to accelerate the amount of refugees who come in. He has doing nothing to secure the southern borders that I can tell. DHS deportations continue to go way down. So here's my question, bottom line. I think the last time we were on, the two of us agree that expediting Syrian refugees coming into the United States probably isn't a good idea, based on the fact that ISIS has said they've bragged that they've infiltrated it. But look, you passed a bill in the House. Feinstein's got a bill in the Senate. It is never going to get to his desk. And even if it does, he's going to veto it. So then the only alternative is to defund his entire refugee financing process. Here's my question. Are you prepared to commit to that today?
I've got everything on the table as far as I'm concerned. So, but as you know, we're trying to get this done in the next week or two. Get this omnibus spending package that would include funding for everything. I mean, everything from Department of Defense to all different agencies, and arguably Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. But that's what's on the table. This is something that this is obviously a paramount concern to my constituents, and it's a paramount concern to me. And so as we go through, I think everything has got to be on the table. I think the Speaker has said that everything has got to be on the table. That's not to say that anybody wants a government shutdown or wants to have a government shutdown as a consequence of our disagreement about funding one program. But I can tell you this: I think everything needs to be on the table, and we'll see where it takes us.
Congressman, let's get to yesterday. I thought very odd after President Obama's speech on lecturing us about political correctness. Homeland Security Director Jay Johnson goes to a mosque in Northern Virginia to basically lecture the same thing, that we need to be sensitive to imams and sensitive to Muslims, etc. This right after the president's speech. I mean, you look at this and some people say, why isn't this guy focused on figuring out when the next attack is going to come into reality, which everybody knows it's a matter of time. Instead, he's at mosques, again, like the president, lecturing us on how to deal with other Muslims. What's the deal with these people?
Well, I think that I think this administration begins with the premise that America is racist, and America needs to get a grip and get a hold of itself and not be racist and not be concerned about all these threats and not be concerned about the fact that 14 innocent people were murdered at a Christmas party by Islamic terrorists. That's that is their concern, and that is so far away from the real concerns of the American people, who are not racist in general. And don't need to be lectured about how to treat other human beings. Obviously, we should have respect for all human beings, regardless of their religious faith. Obviously, that's the premise of our country, and we don't need to have finger wagging by this administration at a time when they should be sitting in the Oval Office developing strategy, delivering resources to law enforcement, to intelligence agencies to make sure that this never happens again. We don't need political finger wagging at a time when we need a president who's sitting in the Oval Office and a Secretary of Homeland Security who's sitting in his office figuring out ways to make sure that our border is secure and that these things that we witnessed in California never happen again. But instead, we get the political sideshow, the political theater. And I think a lot of it has to do with, number one, this apologist embarrassment about America and about what this country stands for and how great it is, and that we are an all-inclusive country, and that we don't do things to religious minorities, and that we recognize that our country is great because of our freedom. But that also means providing security, and that's what this president wants to deflect away from his failures as it relates to these issues. The idea that the Islamic State has been contained, of course, is the laughingstock of the world as we see what has happened on our own soil within days of his statement about that. And I think he's using this to deflect and prefers the political theater. And the truth of it is, with all due respect to this president, he's always preferred the political theater over the substance of making this country great.
Congressman, I got a minute. What about his call for restricting gun ownership to anybody that's on a no-fly list?
Well, I mean, certainly it sounds good. It's more political theater, is what it is. It's completely irrelevant to anything that happened in California. Now the bottom line is should there be a linkage? Absolutely. But to equate being on a no-fly list to your God-given constitutional rights to bear arms. Those are two completely different standards. People get on fly lists very easily, and they should get on no-fly lists very easily. With respect to restricting somebody's rights as guaranteed by the Constitution, that should be difficult. And are there ways to do what he so easily spouts off in his speech? There probably are ways to do what he's talking about, but to just act like it's very easy and we just need to do it, again, speaks to the political nature of all of this, because it sets up a false narrative that doesn't exist except to drive the political the political spin of the day coming out of the White House, and so I think that we ought to look at ways to try to do what he's talking about, but it's much more complicated. Those no-fly lists are wildly inaccurate, but they cast a wide net. That's what we need. You don't have a right. You have a God-given right, guaranteed by the Constitution, to bear arms. You do not have a God-given guaranteed right to fly on an airplane.
Congressman, thank you. We're out of time. We'll see you on Saturday at the 2015 Republican Advance in Hot Springs. Thanks for being with us, Congressman Robert Hurt. Want more information? Go to hurt.house.gov. Thanks, Congressman.
A pleasure.
See you.